What's up, Lorcana community? This is Jake with Team Snuggly Duckling, and welcome back to the YouTube channel. We're here with B Prep Taylor, and we have a very special guest tonight. The DLC Richmond winner champion. I don't know what we want to call it, but winner. Um, Fungus. He's a well-known guy now. So I mean, you've been around for a while, playing TCGs, and that's where we kind of want to start. Why don't you introduce yourself and kind of let us know a little bit about your TCG background and stuff like that. Just how did you get into cards and
Yeah, man. I was a young man playing Pokemon. You know, I am now an old man, but at one point I was a very, very young guy, getting into cards for the first time. 1997, 1998, in that range of Magic the Gathering and Pokemon were kind of my vibe at that point. I played competitive Pokemon when I was a little sprat. And won some tournaments even at that age. So ever
Awesome.
since then, man, like I've been into TCGs. I've done everything under the sun, Hearthstone, Marvel versus System, WoW TCG, all of them. Magic has kind of been the main one in background.
Yeah.
But notably, Lorcana is really the card game that got me to for real quit Magic fully. Like it is,
Right.
I have always kept Magic cards and played competitively to some degree, but Magic has kind of gone its own direction. I won't get into that right now, but it's not necessarily a game that I'm super engaged with anymore. I sold all my Magic cards, and I'm all in on Lorcana. So that's kind of been my history. But yeah, since about 1998, 1997, I've been playing games.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Did you ever hear of a game called Magi Nation back in the day?
It doesn't ring a bell off the top, but what kind of was it TCG or what kind
It
of
was
deal is
it
it?
was a it was a way older TCG. That was probably the first one that I got into. I'm 33, but still, like,
Yeah,
I talked to a lot of people, and that was one of the ones that not a lot of people knew about. But that's awesome. Playing Pokemon. I believe that's where most of us started our TCG
yeah.
journey, rather it be collecting or playing stuff like that. But Pokemon was definitely the gateway to the TCG world, and I believe just TCGs in general kind of blowing up into the public instead of being Magic, like the Gathering nerds, or we're all from that. So, but that's awesome, man. Yeah. I got another question for you. Where did Fungus come from? What is, like, why did you get the name Fungus?
So I'm like a hyper competitive guy. Like that's the main thing I can say. A lot of people keep asking me, like, "What do you do in your free time? What do you do for fun?" I'm like, "I'm competing." That's what I love. I'm just a horrible person to play board games with. You don't want to play any of these games with me if you don't want me to
Let's
min
go.
max. So I'll
I
give
love
that with
it.
context, right? Like I just even my wife hates it, and it's not good for people that you want to be like friends with and have social gatherings and stuff. But anyway, like so. With that being said, I have been like a semi-pro StarCraft player. I was a semi-pro
Oh,
World of
wow.
Warcraft arena player when I had better reflexes back in the day. So it started with StarCraft. I was a Zerg
Yep.
player just a vibe for what that was.
Yes. Yeah.
StarCraft, Brood Wars, and then it was my more than that. Like I'm probably more well known for because I played a little bit longer. WoW. I played a undead warlock named Fungus, and I was a gladiator for many seasons, and we were like world first, world third, and a bunch of different bosses on the rating side. So like I spent all my time gaming. I am hyper fixated on my hobbies, and I tend to go all in. So but that just stuck because I had a big community of like gamers from the WoW space that knew me as Fungus. So I just kept using it. It was on my handle and everything. So when Pixelborn came around, in terms, and that was my first like foray into like just trying to grind and be competitive a little bit. Even before tournaments were really on the scene, I just throw Fungus on there because that's what I am on everything else. So uh,
Yeah.
I tried to keep that branding just so could be consistent, and that's where I'm at.
Yeah. I've played a ton of World of Warcraft in my life. I just want to nerd out a little bit. What guild were you in, and what server?
The guild probably that you would know the best was Illumination. That was a an alliance guild at that time. I ended up running a couple of horde guilds after that, but Illumination was on Duratan and then
Okay.
Turalion.
Yeah. Yeah.
When Duratan was a day one server and kind of we're getting a little, not to steer you guys too far away, but like if
Yeah.
you played WoW from the very beginning, you knew that they were built on the old hardware. So it was crazy to the point where in Naxxramas 40, so in original WoW, right, the
Yeah. Yeah.
hardest raid there was at the time,
Vanilla. Yep.
the
Yep.
there were raid bosses where the servers at peak times would just crash. It would basically freeze up. So there were bosses you could not do. So as a guild, we completely transferred to Terralion, which was on a new hardware, just so we could kill bosses. So it was that
Smart.
probably is the guild that was. We had a world first Cthulhu kill was our
All
big
right.
like claim to
Wow.
fame. We had a bunch of like top
Crazy.
kills.
Yeah.
You know, we're really hardcore gamers at the time. And like I said, I had better reflexes at the time. It's a different world. But
Yeah.
that was, that was my big claim to fame, or where people knew me from that stream names. People that
That's awesome.
either raided with me or PvP'd with me back in the day.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Sorry, off topic question there, but I'm a like I said, I played WoW since I was about 12, and I remember raiding pretty much my whole life, having a raid schedule, doing arenas every week, all that. Oh, it was great. It was great. All right,
Yeah,
but let's
fun
get
times.
let's get back on topic a little bit. We want to ask you, what is your favorite card in the set, and what is your least favorite card in the set?
Favorite card in the set, probably, like, this is kind of a lame answer, but Malicious Mean and Scary it
Makes sense.
enabled the game to have a board wipe. And I was definitely in the camp of like, there is no be prepared. This game is not good right now in set
Yeah.
9.
Yeah.
It was very play draw dependent, and that may be a hot take. But
Nope.
there were no comeback mechanisms at all. And I just wasn't loving the pace, the way the game played out in set 9. And it seems like, talking to some folks and kind of getting some behind the scenes, that set 9 wasn't necessarily meant to be like the full, the rotation maybe was not completely what they expected it to be, that kind of thing. Maybe Whispers was supposed to be the set that rotated us and not set 9. So I did not like set 9 meta. I was a vocal hater, even though I played it to my best of my ability. Play draw dependency was a big problem for me. So the fact that they gave us a board wipe and gave us some comeback mechanisms in Whispers, and Malicious is a big part of that, just having some kind of board wipe, I think keeps the game in check a little bit and makes the game a better place. That's, as a control player, that's my take.
Agreed.
Yeah. They're both B prep believers below us. They are red purple heart at heart. Pretty much the whole game until rotation, I would say. That's all Taylor and B prep played. But
Right.
yeah, no board wipe. I mean, other than considerably under the sea is or mean and
Right.
scary. I mean, not mean and
just don't
scary. Spooky sight. Other than that, we don't really have. You're right. Just like a backup plan that can actually work on the draw if you're getting punished basically for not having anything good and stuff like that. So
Right.
it is I do like that the board wipe is in the game. I really do think this meta, people complain about it a lot, but I think this is a pretty neat meta where we still have top 4 decks that are very competitive, and at high skills they can be played very 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 well. But what's your least favorite card in the set?
In Whispers, not I don't really dislike anything in Whispers off the top of my head.
Well, just overall in this meta.
I think Daisy Duck, man. Like, that's like,
she's going away soon. We're gonna be all right.
it just creates non-games so many times.
Sure.
And it's it's good against me, so like I have a little bit of bias. Like in the types of decks that I play, Daisy punishes those decks pretty heavily, but it's just a little bit too good to me. I liken it to, if you're a Magic player, it's something like Goblin Guide, but like it's scaled out of control.
Totally better. Yeah.
So I think it's better than Goblin Guide.
Yeah.
So I get what they were going for, because there's in all games I've played, there's been games like that, aggressive early drops that have like this, this kind of linear drawback that puts a deck building restriction on other people, which is kind of cool. I'm into the concept, but a 1/4 is, so without the removal that we had prior, stuff like your little Sisus and your brawls and your stuff like that. It just doesn't have clean answers anymore, so it can run away with games pretty quickly. So that's, I don't love non-games. I like interaction. I like being able to, have some kind of skill expression, and just there's enough games where Triple Daisy just oh well, I guess this one's over. So Curse Merfolk is another one, but it's not nearly as bad, especially now that we have some tools that put damage on them and stuff like that.
Right.
So, but Daisy's still a problem for me.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, my wife loves Daisy. She's the Amber Steel player, and she loves Daisy. And I hate when she goes Daisy, Daisy, Daisy. Oh, yeah, it's just like so not fun. So not fun to deal with.
The decks I build my wife often involve Daisy, to be fair. So it's a certain kind of player that likes to just quest to the moon, and that's obviously the decks that play it now are not just that linear. Like Dogs has actually a lot of game to it, and it's actually kind of complicated. But it encourages the kind of gameplay that I don't like. But there's folks for it. I just wish it was slightly less pushed.
Yeah. I don't want to say it's the easiest to play, but it is the easiest to stumble upon a win with kind of the aggro style play. If your opponent just doesn't have the answers, it's just, they don't really have any issues just, questioning your face and stuff like that. So it's just like, it's rough, but I think
it was okay when we had little Sisu kind of, it wasn't when it was kind of prominently featured in the metagame with Brawl and stuff like that. You had pretty clean answers for it.
Right.
But these days I don't, there are obviously decks that can deal with it. Ruby Amethyst has an easy time dealing with it, but that deck has like other issues, I think, but it's we need more Ruby removal, and I think it would be a kind of a non-issue.
Yeah. Yep. I totally agree. And this is going to be one of my last questions, and I'm going to let Taylor take it off after this. But what made you fall in love with green blue? Why green blue post rotation and pre rotation?
Yeah. I was a red blue player. Like, if you can't tell, like I played red blue set 3, probably when I started spiking events. Like I top 4 at a couple of Star City Games events, and then we split it out, this was fairly early on into when cash tournaments started popping up. So I had some big events with red blue very, very early. I want to say set 3. I can't remember when Hire and Popsicle kind of came together, but basically when those two became a thing, I started playing red blue exclusively from Ruby Amethyst, which was kind of the de facto control deck before that. So I'll always play control decks, and whatever is anything that gives me just long games where I can kind of make lots of decisions and have my skill expressed the most. Is what I'm going to play. So obviously red blue was my deal for a long time. Hiram Popsicle, not an option once they got banned. So I looked to a lot of different play styles there, but ultimately landed on what I thought was kind of a sleeper. Like talking to some of the people that I knew in the community that were kind of just looking for decks to play. A lot of people just went the Amethyst route and played stuff like Ruby Amethyst and different things. But I thought blue green actually had a lot of potential when Muses was around, especially to do degenerate things and take over games. And I thought I had the tools even at that time to beat the decks that had Be Prepared in them, just because of the way the games tend to play out with Ben and stuff like that. So I was a believer, not a believer per se, but I adopted it pretty early on, and then saw the power level early, and then you had an advantage just because a lot of people were not super up on how the game played out with blue green. It was a kind of a rogue deck when I started first playing it at CCS and PPG events and stuff like that. So it had an inherent advantage because of that, and so a few of us were kind of pioneering that set 7 post ban blue green, moving into 8, 9, of course, as well, and then rotation. So it's a little bit different deck back then than what it is now, but the Clarabelle aspect of it obviously still the same, and a lot of the play lines I was already comfortable with. I did swap to Blurple for just a little bit in the set 9 metagames, just because I could see the power level of that, and it has some controlling aspects to it. It probably, if you weren't playing that, it's probably the most resembling a control deck, at least at that time, that I played. But I just hated Blurple mirrors. I didn't want to play Amethyst mirrors all day. I know it is like a skill expression or whatever, but it's just there's something to be said for I'm going to play my best when I'm playing cards that I in a style that I prefer to play. And I'll give that advice to people too. Is like, the best deck is not always the best deck for you. and the best deck for the room is not always necessarily the best deck for you, especially if you can, get people because they're not familiar with your play lines. So,
Right.
So blue green kind of became an adopted stepchild at that point, where me and a few of the people in the 20 lore and like just good players that I knew that were interested in it. We were putting a lot of reps on it. JP from Europe, I forget exactly where he's from, but shout out to him. He was like qualified for EU Continentals at the time, and he and I put a lot of work into that deck. So, and then moving into set 9, we thought kind of the meta had gone. So we lost tools, but we lost fewer tools than everybody else did.
Yes, I totally agree.
Blue green was, I think, uniquely positioned at that time to, at least very early in the meta, to capitalize on the power level squish. And it wasn't the best deck in the format or anything like that, but it did. We saw, those early events at SSG and CCS that blue green did well. In various different versions of it did well. So we had like Jeremy spiked CCS with like the version that had Baymax in it and stuff, and then like the next day I played a very different build that looks more similar to what I played at the DLC, which was something that had like Mother Knows Best and playing more of a tempo style gameplay. So there was a few different builds, and all of them were kind of doing decently at the time. So moving into set 10, obviously we got a really powerful tool and malicious means scary, and it just like closed the door on what the deck needed to not just be okay, if I don't find 7-drop Clarabelle, my deck doesn't function.
Right.
Cinderella is really powerful. The malicious means scary combo is really powerful, match in various different matchups. So you had a lot of tools to work with, and it became less of like just a combo deck where I have to mull 7 for Clarabelle every time, or have to find Clarabelle, I'm going to lose the game, to a deck that could win a lot of different routes. And that's kind of where we were landed. I definitely recognize the power level from before, and kind of that, there's something special here. And then it was uniquely positioned for the metagame, I think, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Green blue has always been a tough matchup. I was pretty much a blurple player the past couple of sets, and it's always the deck that it's not that I was like, oh, this is just, it could go into time. Some players are just, it's a very grindy matchup. And we have quite a few green blue players in our on our team that actually I feel like I played very well. Mooman, don't think he made top 64, I believe, at Richmond and stuff like that.
Nice.
But your tech with removing certain cards that a lot of people were playing, and just going, I would assume that you just mull for a Prince Philip as hard as you can against the aggro and stuff like that. But we'll get a little bit more into why you chose the cards in your deck. But I'll let Taylor take it away. And Taylor, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. What made you decide not to play Under the Sea?
Yeah, I've talked about this with a lot of different people, and there's different philosophies on this, and I don't think anyone is like strictly wrong. But there was a point in testing where I was, and just for context, like I tended to play super late at night a lot of times, and there's certain people that were high ranked that were playing super late at night that I would get queue into all the time. I played Diego probably more than any other person on earth. I think he and I have played more 1v1 games than anyone else in the world. Habibi is another one. Royce, if you guys know him, shout out to him. Another big dogs player that was high ranking on the ladder. So I would, I'd play like, there were nights where I'd play 4 games, and I'd play three amethyst decks, and then I play a dogs, and then the dogs, and I had to understand my deck, right? Like I'm set up to be able to potentially get an Under the Sea and get them, but every time I would play queue into the dogs players, regardless if I had the Under the Sea, they have enough disruption to really put you on the back foot. And we're not set up in the same way that we were in prior, iterations of this deck, where we're playing stuff like Baymax, and we're playing like 12 Clarabelle, so you're hitting shift lines more often than not. A lot of times you're hard casting your Clarabelle these days, or you're playing Donald into Cindy or Cindy into Cindy, and Clarabelle is kind of a maybe a mid game tool more so than just every single game. So you don't have time with dogs to go 4-drop, and then Under the Sea. And most of the time, at least on the draw. Even on the play though, they have Mowgli and Ursula in their deck, and they can play up to 8 of those effects, along with stuff like the 7-cost Tramp to find it. They're taking it out of your hand.
Yeah.
So you
Okay.
can't mulligan for it, because you can't just have this thing, sitting in your hand, or Ursula will eventually just rip it out. Um, if you do happen to draw it at the wrong time and you don't have the singer set up for it, okay, it's stuck in your hand. And so dogs just had the tools to be able to beat it most of the time. You're asking for a situation where a lot of things have to go right. You have to draw Under the Sea off the top, have the singers in play, and have them not gotten to enough lore that they could just go you out anyway.
Yeah.
So that like series of events didn't happen that often, the way the deck was built. And maybe there's another way to build the deck. I didn't try every single way, but I did try a lot of different things in that slot. So the realization was that Under the Sea was there for dogs. And theoretically in Amber Steel, theoretically like the Inkcaster decks, or maybe there's some rogue deck that's playing just a lot of aggro tools, stuff like that. But it's not that great against Amethyst decks. Sometimes you'll get them, but if you think about the way that Purple Steel, which is the most played deck in the format, plays out, most of the time they're going like Palace Guard or Hook into Calhoun, or their other 3/3 into another 4/4, right? Under the Sea is not hitting any of those cards. If they do get a genie, okay, I'm exerting 2 characters to take out probably the 2 characters I care about the least on board, and then we get punished by their Cobras and things like that. So
Understood, yeah. Right.
it didn't line up well into Amethyst. It wasn't really moving the needle enough into dogs for me. And I thought dogs was a bad matchup anyway. So we, made the decision of, okay, we're just going to lose the dogs 100% of the time instead of like 90% of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and take
Fair.
these uninkables out of our deck, make the deck more consistent. And improvise is not like the silver bullet that 100% wins your games, but it has the upside of drawing a card when it's not needed. So it makes your deck smaller in essence. And if you do get to improvise a Cobra, you feel like a god. Like or improvise in Iago.
Yeah. Any of the
I
Vanish
realized
ones,
it wasn't on camera, but like the game I played against DKP where I just like improvised his Iago that he played on turn 3 or whatever, that game was over immediately. There was
Right.
no way he was ever going to recover once I played a sail and then killed his Iago in the same turn. It was you gain so much tempo when you can do that. Not to mention it makes your 2/3s trade into Calhouns, and you can hit like the Diablos out of Ruby Amethyst, and all these, you have a lot of 2-power things that are just like bodies that are left over. Improvise really helps you trade up. T-pose killing things they shouldn't be, and it's kind of a 0 cost to putting in your deck. So that was where I landed. I tried a bunch of different things in that slot, but I still understand if you want to play Under the Sea. Like it makes sense, especially in the Detectives version where they have a little bit better access to getting like the eight singers. But in the version where we're leaning on Cindy and stuff, we don't have the shift lines like they do.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that that's the best way to build the deck, but there is a reason to build the deck that way, and that deck makes a lot more sense to put Under the Sea in.
So in your preparation, did you find that it was, I mean, obviously I think you can get more out of like more repetition playing online versus in person, but what did you find was more beneficial, online or in person?
Yeah, a combination. Like, online I can get games whenever I'm able to. Like, I can just get on the computer and queue up. Those aren't always the best games, but at least, I can get reps. I can learn my play lines, into other people. And I got this season, I got first place on the ladder very early on, and kind of floated in that range for a while. So I was able to kind of make sure I'm queuing into good opponents and things like that. So that helped, being able to just get there and to figure out what I'm losing to and what I'm not losing to. Like I said, I played Habibi and Diego so many times, and because of the fact that I would get up really high and then they would just knock me down. Like I would get to the mid high 2000s, on Fight Club, and then whatever, I don't know what we want to call it for this one, but I get really high up there, right? And then I think Habibi legitimately sent me to the Shadowlands one night. He'll tell me, because I'm like, I think in the ETB Discord they were just chatting and hanging out, and I was in the Loungers Discord kind of doing the same thing, and I legit went from like 2080 or something to like 1800. in the course of a night. I was just getting demolished. And so, you know, in the course of those games, I swapped cards in and out. I'm like putting, okay, let me try Lewis. Nope, that ain't it. Just putting cards in and out of my deck. And the games I would win Under the Sea sometimes wasn't even involved. I would just like get a bunch of Prince Philips in play, like 3-drop Prince Philip, and like be able to challenge daisies and like cut him off of his tramp lines and get a bend at a weird time. So there are ways to win, but it's pretty bad.
Right.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
If with the way the meta share worked out, just because it has a lot of natural predators. That's kind of where I landed.
And obviously, it worked out really well for you. I think you hit the pinnacle there. But would you do anything differently in preparation for like the next DLC or the next major tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I had a good circle of people. The loungers definitely helped me out. I've definitely worked with them quite a bit. Different teams and stuff. I had people that I knew and were close with. Sailor, for one, definitely talked to him a lot because he was on blue green and we were kind of trading ideas for a minute there. And even right before the tournament, he and I like had a touch base. Obviously he had his team and he had different secrets and stuff that I'm sure that they wanted to hold to chest. But I was close to a lot of decent players that were on similar ideas. Sky and I didn't talk about ton testing, but at CCS he was playing blue green and he had a deep run, and I ended up doing a little bit better, I think, in the 5K than he did.
Yeah, you did,
right?
And we talked at CCS quite a bit, and he's like, hey, so what's the difference, and yada yada, and I'm like, hey, you can beat purple steel if you put 4-drop Prince Philip in your deck. We talked about that quite a bit. Tyler Burdett had a deep run at CCS in the 25K, and I ended up going top 8 in the 5K the next day with the exact same list. So, and I think I was 20th place overall on the 25K. So for the Invitational, was again getting a bunch of points. I cashed both events, and I think Sky had a similar run, but we talked a little bit there about the build. And there were not a whole lot of believers in that style of build. I'd say I didn't talk to Ed, but I knew that Ed was not super about the Under the Sea life. I heard down through the grapevine this guy was kind of in that mode, and we talked about it. We finally came together at CCS, and there was a few of us that were that put a lot of reps in, that understood that this version of the deck it's not that great into, and so we had a lot of success with it, and just the testing group that I had was just whoever was available. One of the things I'm definitely like, getting a little bit more now is like some offers at formal teams and stuff like that. But I've been kind of teamless and, just kind of working not on my own, but like, more in a silo than probably some other people who are, knocking down tournaments. So my testing process is just get as many reps as I possibly can in, and then try to, use my own analytics to go from there.
And then, I mean, so I saw the matches, I was there for it, but then your finals match, like what was it like knowing you just finished your top 4? I think your match finished before Sky's, if I'm not mistaken, right? So you had a little bit of time. What was it like just watching that and then like realizing I'm about to play in the finals?
I don't mean to be cocky, but Sky and I on opposite sides of the bracket talked about it even before like we were out of top 32. We looked at the matchups, and I had to play Luke, so I definitely could have got knocked out by Luke. He was on blue green with Under the Sea, but like we're 2 card different or something. In the mirror match, neither of those cards is terribly useful. Under the Sea has some small applications, but you're kind of asking, it's not that big of a deal. Yeah. So I knew Luke could have taken me out, but I was on the play the entire way because of my seed in the tournament. I knew Sky had good matchups unless that purple green deck was still in the fray. There was Inkcaster deck that was in top 8 that Rob took out. So shout out to him. And if that Inkcaster deck hadn't been taken out, we would have had a really tough time. It's possible to beat that deck, but it's rough. They have so many ways that we can't interact.
Right.
So once that deck was out, I saw the matchups I had in front of me, and obviously I had to play really good players. I had to play Rob and I had to play DKP before I got to Sky.
Right.
But and another Lurple player, Freddie, who is another really strong player I played in a bunch of different open events. But I'm really good into Blurple, especially on the play. I don't think Blurple can win on the play if I get a decent hand. So I I told him like, hey, this is going to be a blue green finals. Like when purple green is out of this, if purple green somehow does not take down these purple players, which Rob ended up taking it out on the draw,
Yeah.
then we have a clear path to get to a blue green finals. He had, I think, purple steel and a couple other decent matchups on his side of the bracket. And like I said, I had nothing but blurples, and I had been beating up on blurple all day. Pretty happy about on blurple matchup, especially on the play. So we manifested it. We like spoken into existence. It's just going to be me and him in the finals. And I know he's a great player, but I know I've played the blue green mirror enough that I have a really good shot at get taking it down.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We thought there was rumors going about that you and Sky were actually practicing beforehand together, or were kind of theory crafting together. Blue green, was that true, or was that?
To a degree, like not direct conversations. Like he was obviously working with Maelstrom and those guys.
Right.
Like we had talked to some of the open tournaments that we were playing about before about theory crafting the deck, and we landed in the same place. But we had talked about the specific choices that we made at CCS, which was obviously I think a month or two before the DLC.
Yeah.
But in all of that time, I tested a ton of stuff just to throw it against the wall and see what sticks, and nothing really was better than what we originally came up with. So I landed back where I was at CCS, and that's where Sky ended up landing too. So I don't know if he like took that cue from me and from Tyler, because I put a video out right after CCS about, hey, this is the decisions we made. This is why, how we think it worked out. We took a gamble on we can lose to dogs once, and we don't think dogs is that high of a meta share. So we had the exact same approach to CCS, and it ended up working out exactly the same way. Dogs was something like 10 to 12% of the meta. It has a lot of natural predators, which are purple steel, like can beat it. Blurple, especially if they're putting wasabis in their deck and stuff like that, can beat it. So even if it's bad for us, we're good into all the rest of the decks. And dogs isn't that high in the meta share. And the other thing is dogs is, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, is kind of a deck it's not as easy to play as it looks at surface level.
Right.
So I don't like, I'm going to lose to Diego. I'm going to lose to great dogs players, but I have a good shot into somebody who's playing it like an aggro deck, which a lot of people pick up the deck and do just, swing daisy every turn.
Yeah.
It's just, you can't play the deck like that into blue green, or we have the chance to actually play and win.
Yeah. So do you think like you've been on green blue for like a good while? Like I've been following your YouTube for some time and watching you play. Like when I saw you in top 32, my wife laughed because I was like, this is gonna sound weird. She's like, I was like, but I'm rooting for Fungus from the beginning. She was like, what are you talking about? I was like, this player here, like I'm rooting for him. Like, do you think because you were on green blue for so long, especially like compared to Sky, like it gave you a leg up, like going into that mirror match in the final?
Probably a little bit, right? Because I mean, I don't know how many. I haven't talked to Sky after a ton. We have another. I'm doing if you haven't heard, they posted on Twitter just a little bit before I came on the podcast. They're doing a podcast episode where different folks are kind of taking over. So go check them out. I'm jumping on with them tomorrow. I don't know when that episode is going to come out, but we haven't talked officially. We talked between rounds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But as far as, sorry, what was the question again? I'm
you just being on. Yeah, no, you good. Look, that's how you know it's a great conversation when you get off into a different topic. But like just being on green blue so long, I feel like that had to play a part in giving you such a leg up, like in that match.
I played a lot of mirrors. Like I definitely knew, and a big part of like just winning an event is having a good game plan going in, so that you can execute on it. So if you're just like playing off the top of your deck and you don't know what cards you're looking for, they're going to be critical in the matchup. And the matchup can be very long and grindy. Like it can be over in a heartbeat if you know what you're doing. At least theoretically over in a heartbeat. Like you saw in game 1 and 2, I found the tool that I needed. I found the bend at the right time. I had a healthy hand, and the game is over. Like and he did it to me at least once. I want to say, but I knew what I was looking for. I knew how to play the blue green mirror. So I don't know where his head was at on every single one of those. And I didn't watch his decisions obviously or any of that. But I know he's a great player. I don't want to discount his ability to win there. So was definitely respecting him as a person who probably knew how to navigate the matchup. But I definitely was confident in my ability to deal with I knew how to play it and set myself up for the best chance to win.
Were you concerned? Because I know it's open deck list when you get to that stage, right? Like, so Sky's list, and you obviously both of you see y'all are both only one card off from each other. Was there any concern there when you saw like, oh, we're like extremely close? Because at that point, obviously he knows how to play almost an exact mirror copy of your deck. Was there any concern there seeing that he was only one card off?
No, not at all. Those two cards, neither of them matter in that matchup. So they're both going to ultimately be ink most of the time. Honestly, the improvise is probably slightly better than a John Silver, but it's we're splitting hairs. No, we both knew what we were playing. We had talked throughout the tournament early on because we were sitting at top tables all the days. So both of us were like, we thought any round we could have to play each other, and we had been talking to some degree of like, hey, we didn't bring Under the Sea, and his entire team brought Under the Sea other than him. I think most of there were some loungers that did not bring Under the Sea. I had to go back and check. Cheeto actually top 32, so shout out to him. One of the loungers, a young guy that wears a Cheeto hoodie. You can't miss him. I think he ended up not being Under the Sea, but I led some blue-green meetings where I was basically advocating for do not put Under the Sea in your deck. It's, I don't think it's worth it. And, so there were a lot of people that knew where I stood on things. And definitely Sky and I 100% knew that we were in camp, no Under the Sea that day. So maybe not all of our opponents knew that. Like if they were well-researched and they followed me, they knew I'm a loudmouth, and I like, Jeremy even said it on his podcast several times about, the blue-green players aren't playing Under the Sea. And, and so you can check out some prior episodes of that. I'm even up in the comments, like, this is kind of simplified. You're not really putting the whole story out there. And it makes difference. It makes a difference that you're in the detectives build versus the non. So he's been on detectives for a while, but it's, if you follow the blue-green like enthusiast, we've been talking about the no versus yes for a while, but if you're not in that circle, people do have to respect it. And a lot of people did think I had Under the Sea in my deck.
Yeah.
No doubt.
So how'd you handle the like it's 2 days, right? Over 12 hours each day. Like how'd you handle the mental fatigue at like going into the finals? Like that I feel like that has to be already a moment that just gets you adrenaline pumping, especially once you get into top 32. It's 2 days, very long event. Like just what's kind of like some tricks that you would have or some tips to some players looking to get into those levels and they are dealing with mental fatigue. Like how do you handle it?
Well, first of all, substances, I'm just chugging Red Bulls 100% with you. And to give some context, guys, like I'm a big guy, but I was a bigger guy. I have lost a lot of weight, and I'm on some meds that so they make me drowsy. So I have to do caffeine just to like be a person. So I'm legit hitting sugar-free Red Bulls just to be a person and to persist in these events. So like I was highly caffeinated for what it's worth. For better or worse. So that might actually not help everybody. I don't want to give that as like legit advice. Don't just slam Red Bulls all day.
Thing. I agree with it 100%.
Just be healthy and you won't have these issues. But but that's part of it is like I tended to eat very lightly over the event, just kind of like protein and stuff, just because it's part of like the diet I'm on right now. That's been really working well. So, but I'm maybe a different case. So but mentally, like from just a psychology perspective, I don't come into the event looking to win. Spiking an event like that is not going to be very often. A lot of things have to go right, and a lot of things have to go wrong for your opponents. Like and it did happen for me. Like I don't want to discount it. It's when you have the opportunity there, like be ready to take it. But I value consistency overall. If you have a bunch of day twos, if you have a bunch of top cuts, if you win more than you lose, that makes you a great player. You'll win an event every once in a while when the stars align. But with this many people, anything can happen. Variance is variance. Like I lost matchups I'm not supposed to. I won a bunch of matchups some that I shouldn't have. And all those things happened and just aligned right for the weekend. But you have to play well when you have the opportunity to make an impact. So sometimes your deck's going to fail on you. Sometimes variance is going to happen. But if you don't win the games you're supposed to win, you won't be set up for that. So mentally, I wasn't thinking I'm going to win the tournament, but I was thinking I know what I'm doing. I'm as prepared as I'm ever going to be. And, coming into it, I was just setting minor goals. I wanted to make day 2 at least. I really wanted a Continentals invite. And I thought I was well set up to do so. And then once I was in the top 32, I started reevaluating. Even when I took my second loss, I was like, well, maybe I don't get Continentals invite this time, but at least I'm gonna, let's go X3, get the promo, help me for the trip and that kind of thing.
Right.
So you're not going to always win out, but if you can be consistent over a lot of events and do a lot of top cuts and do a lot of winning, I think there's more value in that than being able to spike one event. So I just try to keep myself grounded on that in that respect. And I don't know, I'm the kind of guy that can stay calm. So to give some background, I used to be a secondary education teacher, so like a high school teacher for, I've worked with children. I teach adults, and I'm used to dealing with emergency situations. So I've had to deal with a lot of, I have to be the calm person in the room, kind of vibe. So I'm good at staying level most of the time. Even like Sailor said to me, when he saw me win my top 16 match, he's like, "You're the saddest person I've never seen anybody be so sad to just win a gold Mickey." And I'm just like trying to stay focused and trying to stay level and like reset expectations in my mind of like, and I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know if everybody can do that. I have a unique brand of autism that probably kicked in a little bit. So, maybe you can do a little bit of mental resetting and just tell yourself, being consistent is what's key. If you played your best, you can be proud of that and just leave everything on the table. So I was confident in my ability to do well, but if it didn't happen, it didn't happen. I'm playing against great players. Like DKP could have definitely taken me out if things would go wrong for me and I wasn't able to execute on the game plan that I came in with, for example. So that's where my headspace is at.
I think that's great advice for every 5-3 play out there, as coming from a 5-3 player himself.
It's fine.
Just keep it's good. It's okay. Like you just keep practicing, you keep at it. Which really answers the next question I had for you. So I'll go ahead and skip and just be like, so what's your thoughts with the deck going into set 11, right? Like, are you gonna focus on playing core, or are you gonna switch to Infinity now that there really are no more core DLCs that we may not see this year at all?
I'll play whatever's relevant for the tournaments I have coming up. I haven't looked at the spoilers enough to have like a good sense of if there's any impactful cards yet. So I will probably do like a set review kind of thing and just look at it in a live stream like I did with Fabled, and just try to give context on the cards. And I'm usually decent at evaluating cards, and I'm the kind of person that leaves the door open for a lot of wild strategies, because I do like having an advantage of playing a rogue strategy, because I think you can get competitive advantage that way if you have a good sense of things. If you're not just willing to compromise strength of power, strength of the deck for nonsense, there's advantage of playing cards that people haven't interacted with. But no, I haven't looked a ton. I mean, there are some cash tournaments coming up. I have CCS coming up for Houston. I'm probably going to try to make that one. There's an invitational that goes along with that, and that's also going to be core. So there's, and shout out to Charlie's, that really kept me going for a long time. I'll share this with you guys too. Like, for this is only my second DLC. Not because I wanted it to be my second DLC, but because I could not get tickets for anything in season 1 at all. So, my Milwaukee, I went 5-3, and then the second time, was able to take one down. So I'm 1 for 2, but it's, these open tournaments have been my bread and butter just because I couldn't get into DLCs.
Yeah.
So that's, so I probably will play whatever's available to me. I know there's a big tournament coming up in Mexico I'm actually kind of hyped for. I might try to make it to that one. It's a CCQ, but it's just, it's a cash tournament in Mexico, and I've never been to Mexico. So I might see if I can make that one. I'll show up to any event where I have the potential to get good value.
Yeah.
If I think I'm confident, and have done the preparation for it. So I wouldn't count out just never playing core again. I'm also going to try to I'm run some stuff kind of out of my channel and things like that, some like
Yeah.
leagues and things. A format I'm actually really interested in is Lorcana.
Yeah.
I've run some events locally with that, and actually it was crazy fun. Like there's a lot of room for
It's
innovation
good.
in that, and I'm hoping we can maybe push that a little bit. The competitive community as like a side thing that people can have fun with when we're not
Yeah.
all focused on like the main event.
Right.
That's
Yeah, I love that. So it's something you'd like to see in the future sets. We got maybe a month until we start seeing set
month.
you said getting released. Like it's about a month. What you kind of looking for? Like what's something you would like to see come back? Obviously I would love to see a board wipe, but everyone is different.
Yeah, I want Ruby to have more tools. Like I just want there to be competition in that space. Ruby had a little bit of play this go around, but it was
Yeah.
I think just based off of the strength of Headless Horseman and it in the
Yes.
meta and kind of where it's at. Diablo, obviously a great card, and there's a couple of them that they snuck in there, but it's an amethyst. It's like a purple steel deck in sheep's clothing. Kind of
Yeah.
it's not necessarily a huge uh differentiation between those two decks. So I want Ruby to have a better identity, and I'm hoping that we come back to seeing good removal spells in Ruby just to keep everybody else in check, including a deck like Blue Green. I don't think Blue Green is necessarily the boogeyman or anything like that, but it having Ruby decks in the format will make everything else more balanced, and even stuff like Daisy Duck, which I mentioned, will be less of an eyesore if Ruby can put together a viable deck. Obviously, we have Shark, and there's a bunch of Sapphire cards that are really strong to pair with it. But even something like Powerline, like it's a crazy powerful card if somebody can make that work. We just
Yep.
don't have the song support for it. So
Right.
I'm watching a lot of different things. So, but Ruby, I'd like to see get some love in the upcoming sets.
Yeah, love that. And
You might be getting some love. It
yeah,
might.
I hope we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then like, are you planning on? You said like CCS is huge. Are you planning on going to Indy to play in the Infinity
Yeah,
event?
I'll definitely be at Indy as long as I get a ticket.
Yeah.
I love Infinity myself. I know a lot of people are super down on it, but I get to
love
play
it.
High Ribbon Popsicle again, and I have Ruby.
Yeah.
I have Ruby Sapphire built and ready to go. I'm anytime I'll throw down an indie. I even I joked with Sky going into the finals. I'm like, all right, if you want. The rules technically say we just have to determine this by a match of Lorcana. We can just play Infinity right now. I have my blue red on and ready to go, and he can play blue steel. And because that is kind of a little bit of a meme, but like back in the day on old Pixelborn, that was the matchup we played over and over. He was always on blue steel with like Cogsworth and Whole New World, and I was always on blue red. So I'm ready to run it back.
Yeah.
I don't think they really would have let us do that, but but that like some of the conversation we had was just joking around about that. So I definitely love. I played Infinity at Milwaukee and had a good time with it. I believe X1 in the side event after I didn't make day 2, and yeah, I'm super about Infinity. I actually think there's a lot of exploring that could be done there once people actually put their head down and try a little bit harder on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had our one of our players, Garrett Martin, go 7-0 and Richmond with green purple in the Infinity event two times in a row. He's
Did it for
And
Milwaukee.
it was Milwaukee.
he's
He did it
lo-
in Milwaukee
he's
too.
loving it. But I know Infinity's not for everyone. But I really personally enjoy Infinity a lot. Feel like it's more there's more agency to the game. There's more skill variance. You can really feel it when you make the correct play. And then there's like just I feel like some of these decks have especially green blue, they have the mechanics to come back and then your opponent can't really respond because they're out of cards, but like that's not really a thing in Infinity. I feel like it's a real back and forth battle until you're out of cards in hand and both players are top. Like, it's just more competitive in my opinion, and you really have to understand the meta further than just what the top 4 decks are, because it's you see some crazy stuff. My round 1 was against like a blue steel John Silver location Kiwi Bird style deck, and I was like, what am I going against? What is this? But yeah, Infinity's awesome. We really enjoy it. But are you planning on, other than, I guess you said Mexico, right? Any other tournaments that you're gonna be hitting this year other than that one?
If I can get a ticket to Ghent, I'll be there.
Yep.
That's kind of my next stop. I'm obviously got some tournament winnings. I'm trying to cash out on that stuff. And if anybody's if you guys don't mind, if anybody's out here trying to is a baller and trying to buy some baller cards, I got them ready to go. So I do not hold on to shiny things. I put them back into the system and get me to the next tournament. Pay the bills. So if I can get me a plane ticket to Ghent, I'm if I can figure out the time off of work, I'll definitely go. But it wasn't on my game plan until now. It wasn't, your Europe trip is not something in the cards if you don't have the funds lined up. So, but it's something I would do. I'll play anything I can get I can do. Like, I love competitive gaming in general. So any chance for me to just get out there and jam games, I'm ready to go anytime.
Yeah. And I believe you've played probably me and Taylor once or twice on the Lord Voldemort site. Always great games, always super stressful, really thought taken. It's just great games. And we appreciate you coming on to the show. And just hearing your side of the story, getting a little bit to know you a little bit deeper and a little bit better, and just your insight to the community is just awesome. Like, your aura feels like a really down to earth guy. You really have it all. Like, we talked a good bit in CCS, just about how you didn't want to see our green purple deck at all that whole day. Me and Garrett's green purple and stuff like that, but it was a good time. Now we're gonna get to our what we call the final thoughts right now, and we'll start with Taylor, and then we'll end with you, Fungus. All right.
Sounds good.
So Taylor, what you got? Final thoughts, man.
So my final thoughts for everything. Actually, this has been really enlightening. It's good to know that like there are, we all know the names, and we interact with people within the community all the time, and everyone isn't really like hiding information. We're all sharing information and trying to be better players as we move forward. And it's always good to hear about that. I had a really good time in Richmond. I didn't perform the best on Saturday as I had in the past, but it was pretty good to jump into Infinity the next day. And I had fun playing a deck that I picked up the night before at that point. Did pretty well with it. So it was all a good time. I'm looking forward to things in the future. Particularly this next set that's coming out in about a month, because of some of the spoilers and things of that nature. So I'm pretty happy all around with the way the game's going.
Yeah. Robbie, what you got?
Yeah, definitely ready for this new set to start dropping cards to see what we got. Love Infinity, and I'm ready for set champs. Finally, it was weird being a spectator this time around for the DLC. Because kid's birthday, couldn't make it. My wife would have murdered me and hung me from the roof. So I definitely wasn't going. But it was cool. It was extremely cool to see somebody, like Fungus is like, you're super relatable, right? Like, especially as a dad, like, as like, we're all older, we're all entire, mid to late 30s now, and getting on an age to see someone that I could like connect with and relate to so well was like, it's no shade on any other one who's won a challenge or anything like that. I've been very vocal. I love Zach just because he's a dad, and it's cool to see a dad do it. So to see someone I can relate to, I think it gives all of us older guys who have like, we've all retired from Magic and all our card games that come to Lorcana. This has become our retirement game, right? It's just really cool to see someone like you who's so down to earth, and it's just a great conversation. And then just showing everyone at this age we can still compete, and we can still be competitive, and we can still hit the top tables. I love it.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome, Robbie. All right. My final thoughts are, shout out to the judges at Richmond. They deal with some of the craziest stuff on this planet. So shout out to the judges at all the DLCs, because they deal with the most, guys. The most. Some of the craziest things I've seen that these judges have to deal with. So shout out to the judges. I also want to say that I hope we have a good line of tournaments lined up that aren't out there yet. There's just such a gap between now and Infinity, and from Infinity to Nationals, that I just hope that we can find some good, base tournaments. We have CCS, we have stuff like that, it's continuous, PBG, but I want some other tournaments, like some other bigger tournaments, DLC size preferably, but I know that's a lot to ask for, but that's probably what I'm hoping for most. I know that's a lot to ask, but it is what it is. But I'm excited for the next set. I'm excited for Infinity. I don't know what anyone will be playing during Infinity. That's another thing. We got 2 sets until that. The DLC. So it's going to be what you think now. It might not be what you're thinking later. So don't burn yourself out on Infinity or any of these formats right now for the next DLC. Other than that, I appreciate all my team. I appreciate you, Fungus, for coming on. We put in a lot of work. We're growing big, and I just, I appreciate this community. This community is one of the best card communities I've been a part. I was a part of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like I said in early episodes, most of my opponents looked across from me and said, I would rather you dead than play you. So I really just am happy that we have a good TCG community in this card game. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm just really thankful for the times that I have playing Lorcana with my friends, with new friends, and just great people, But other than that, I'm out of final thoughts there. Fungus, you can take it away.
Yeah, man, still coming off the high of DLC Richmond. I think even if I had not won that event, it was a really positive experience for me. The Friday event was a big deal. Even if I just did as well as I did in the Friday event, or even if just playing the Friday event, it was so well done. Shout out to them for taking the feedback and actually implementing that to have something to do, and extend that joy a little bit more. Like we go there for that high and that big trip, and just having more stuff to do for everybody that may not be in the main event or whatever, what have you. The Friday event was a big one, and really great prize support for it, to the point where even if I had just done as well as I did on Friday, I was still up. Like on the trip, I was already looking good.
Yeah.
So it's so shout out to them for that. But otherwise, just the Richmond experience was great. I think they have made progress from where we were in Milwaukee even, and I haven't done every single DLC, so everybody can give their experiences there. But I think it was a positive experience, even and now of course I'm getting blown up a little bit, and I'm happy. It's a good thing. So I'm still riding that high a little bit this week, but no, feeling good about the game, and I do hope that we have more on the horizon and that people don't lose that momentum that they got from Richmond. I've heard so many people say that they're feeling great about the game and the community. I had a buddy of mine that works with me today that is a gamer and just like can't touch TCGs anymore, but he watched he just like he didn't put that part of his life was over.
Right.
He's relapsing. So like I talked, he watched the top 8 and was just like, man, I was so excited watching it. I like, can you like loan me some cards? Can we play some games? And I'm like, that's a sign of something.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You got these old to your point, retirees, right? Getting back on the train. So there's something there. I hope we don't lose that spark. So for me, I'm going to do my best to try to make sure the community is taken care of. For my part, I hope everybody else just tries to, the main thing I say, and if you guys listen to Jeremy's Jeremy's space or anything like that, we've had a conversation a bunch of times about the local game store. Go, guys, if you're like the shark in your local community or whatever, make sure you're going to your local game store, touch base with those guys, make sure your LGS owners and stuff are getting your presence means a lot sometimes. Supporting your people, like don't just go to Hearthstone or to crush them all the time, but it's your presence and just supporting the community and making sure that they see your face and that you're supporting your local game store means a lot. These local game stores have to exist and they have to thrive on this game for them to continue running the game, and for the game to really, for us to have competitive spaces. You have to have the bottom level, those casual players, those mid-level players, those aspirational players. They all have to have a place to live, at the local game stores where that is, not online, not not in these podcasts, not on these, any of these deep dive spaces, right? Where a lot of us go to really chew it up at the highest levels. But so I hope Ravensburger recognizes that and puts more, puts more investment and faith in local game stores to drive their game. For me, I have a lot of stuff ahead that I'm looking forward to. Just looking for more tournaments. Obviously, I got 2 qualifications that I didn't expect to have a couple of days ago. So looking forward to those events. But again, just trying to foster the community.
Awesome.
If you guys don't mind, just want to let people know that I have the main way you can interact with me, guys. If you're interested in hearing more from me or just seeing more strategy advice from me and stuff like that, like I mentioned, I'm an educator by trade. I try to do educational Lorcana content, whether that be strategy videos or even just stuff like theory videos. Using that many years of experience. I have a YouTube channel that is very moderate right now, but it's blowing up really quickly. I try to put out consistent videos. I'm investing a lot into it with a lot of the stuff that I was able to take away from Richmond and connections I've gotten. So check me out. It's Fungus TCG on YouTube. Throw me a subscription. That would mean the world to me. That's also how I communicate the most, is just posts on there for my subscribers. So I'm on X too, but like more than that, I go to YouTube to post my thoughts or what's going on in life, or thoughts in the community, deck list, stuff like that. So if you value the stuff that I have to say, if you want to hear more from me, check me out on YouTube.
Well,
Awesome.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
everyone
love it.
subscribe, please. Like, if you want to learn a thing or two about this game, this guy knows what he's talking about. Again, Fungus, we really appreciate you coming on Tavern Talk, and it was a pleasure. It really was. It was great to further, dive and get to know you a little bit deeper than just saying, "Oh man, this guy's a really good player. He's on the top of the ladder with Lorcanito and stuff like that." But it was a pleasure. So other than that, guys, we are out. So subscribe and follow us on Team Snuggly Ducklings YouTube also for more content like this. We're going to be putting out a duck tech in 2 or 3 days about the 7-0 green purple run with Garrett Martin. Other than that, we'll catch you guys next time, and y'all have a good one. Ooh,
Oh, beautiful. Look at that. Yeah.
Hardware shot.
There it
Yeah,
is.
thanks, beautiful. All right,
Thank you.
peace.
Yeah.